Well, the technical team here at StorMagic, and in this video we are going to be deploying SvHCI to a couple of HPE DL145 servers. So these lovely pieces of kit, as we can see, have a high core count single socket AMD CPU, a GPU, 192 gig of memory, a couple of 10 gig, single 10 gig dual port, as it were, so two 10 gig NICs. And then if we go to the storage, we've got some NS204 boot adapters. And then attached to my MR416, I have a number of 3.84 terabyte SSDs that I'm using in a 17 terabyte odd SAN pool volume, as it were, for my virtual machines. And open up my ILO. And what we're going to do first and foremost is hook up our SvHCI ISO. And then we are going to reset the mode. So catching that F11 boot prompt such that I can select the boot device. By so of which we're going to select a manual install. And here. media insert has been. Okay, we'll do a reset there one more time. And while that's just doing that, we'll do our install over on this node. So we can see the product to install with the ISO I'm using, SvHCI. Select option 1, and we're going to install it to those NS204 boot disks. I'm going to select NIC 1 to be my management address, and that's going to be 10.10. Where am I? It's going to be 1158. That in this lab is on /16. Gateway.4, no VLAN 10, 7.3, go, NTP is fine, and yes, please, we want to then install. Boot prompt. Okay, so where I've been using the systems previously, just as a little note, we can type purge there at any point during the install, and it'll scrub the first sections of each of those disks as well. Okay, so we're going to do option 1, NIC 1, 10.10.1157, 16, DNS. Move to the races with that guy installing as well. Meanwhile, this guy's just rebooting post-install. Okay, so we can then hook to this guy with that IP address set during install. Obviously, if there are any issues during that, DHCP, wrong IP address entered, something similar. So we can then log in, modify logging in via the console with the default credentials post-install password for the password. Obviously, with that, we could change our traffic flags or various other bits of basic network troubleshooting there on the console as well. So first and foremost, we're going to accept that self-signed cert, and we are going to log in once again with those default credentials of admin and password. We then get presented with our first boot wizard. We sign our soul away and accept the license agreement, and we give the node a license key. So you can just find my keys. And now this can be a online license or an offline. So the node routes out to licensing.stormagic.com to tie its serial to a license key. And you can see here then a online activation. So the box able to get out to the internet, DNS, routes out to that address, job done, ties those two together. Now for closed environments with the other node, I'll do an offline license file just to show that in action as well. So SvHCI 2 DL145. Let me put a domain in there, and we can see then set our own password on the box and finish. Just wait, that's still coming up. What's some stuff? Okay, having changed those different details, it'll have renewed the self-signed cert, and we can see then our interface, our vSwitch. So what I'm going to do is modify my vSwitch, and I'm going to add my other NIC to it and set it into an active backup so I get some NIC resiliency. And I'm also going to create me a interface called infra. Why not? And we'll go 192.168.66.2, and I'm going to put then, I suppose, and mirror preferred for my traffic on the storage side to be logically separated over that. I also then need a group in the form of, in this case, we'll be nice and lazy and call it LAN, VM network, etc. I don't have any VLAN tagging, but obviously if you're doing microsegmentation, those port groups can be VLAN tagged as well. If I take a look at my pools, we've got a boot pool on there. We can then come over to this connector, SvHCI 2 0. We'll create a pool on that 17 terabytes for our virtual machines to sit inside of and run on top of. Okay, so we should now have our second node. And can we just come to 10.10.157 down here. And once again, we go through that first boot wizard, accept your license agreement. And now we're going to do an offline license file this time around, won't we? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to browse to licensing.stormagic.com. I'm going to download an offline license file. I'm going to punch in my serial. I'm going to punch in my license key. Going to pull me down a little license file that I can then upload into the system. And away we go. We're fully licensed and off to the races. Let's see there, and then click into one. There. So on the networking side, we went to our virtual switches. Each networking change is an FYI. It's then regenerating because the IP address changes, the self-signed search, so hence having to re-accept that guy. So if we go to an edit, we can then add our secondary NIC. We're going to create our group, it's just LAN. Finally, on this one, we will add in my infra to 168.66.1. Tab our way around nicely and quickly get that set up as well. Now, the nice thing here, we can also do a quick speed test just to demonstrate. So we can go infra, set this guy into a server mode. We go to our network, we go speed test, go client, and go specify the interface to test. To 168.66.1, stick a 0 on that, pipe across 10 gig, do a start. And we are off to the races. It's all behaving nicely. Under discovery, we can see that I'm in a nice network. Multicast isn't blocked. If it is blocked, you can add static entries to these different nodes. We try and be as minimal noise on the network as we can be. But these guys have all automatically picked each other up. They're within the same IP subnet. Multicast is allowed, so they're detecting each other automatically. They can see the two nodes. They can also see my witness. Now I've deployed that to this Windows jump box. We can see that running under services, StorMagic Witness Service. I can also go to a quick command prompt, BQ2LA, BQ2LA. That's my witness. So we put our pool there. Let's just have a nice sensible matching naming schema. We can go to pools. Create our SAN pool here. So it's changing to SvHCI1. Create that. And then effectively we can cluster these nodes together. So if I select join here, you can see it's automatically detecting node 2 to add, the full node. And there's my witness. And we apply that, and that effectively then clusters these guys together into a HA configuration. So my next step is to effectively start creating some VMs. So I'm going to come in here and go Ubuntu guest 1. And I'm going to give this guy tons of memory to play with in these lovely machines. SCSI, we'll go network plan. I need to upload my CD-ROM. Go Ubuntu guest 1 disk 01. The queue, yeah, I've got space to burn. Why don't we go give me 20 as my OS disk. I'll add you. We'll add another disk. And we're going to keep some 200 gig. Okay, and apply that. Windows within Windows within Windows. Ubuntu server ISO down. Isn't it? So that is my Ubuntu ISO coming down. That's 3 gigabytes, just to flash up some sizes in comparison for doing these kind of remote installs that we look at. My SvHCI ISO, my SPSAN ISO, about 300 megabytes. So if you were doing a remote install to a system over a VPN, obviously it's that a tenth of the traffic it's actually having to copy out to that remote system. If I just mouse over that resynchronizing, interestingly enough, so we catch it in time. Should come to over here. We can see that 2.32 gigabytes per second as it just synchronizes up those disks. So I'm going to upload or download that ISO and then upload it into my HCI and then create me some VMs. So in the space of about 20 minutes, I've created myself a 2-node, highly available, live migratable, edge-focused clustered solution for virtual machines. So thank you very much for listening to me. Any follow-up questions, reach out to our team, support@stormagic.com. Thanks very much. Cheers.